Texas football returns to action at home, Texas volleyball keeps their win streak alive, and the World Series is underway. All of this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
Yeah, let's do this.
And their men's basketball team needs to stop social distancing themselves from fans.
But now it has been overdone to death. Playing, don't stop believing.
Bye-bye, Bucks. Bye-bye, Raptors.
All right, let's get to it. Welcome into College Crossfire. I'm your host, Jaxie Pidgeon, and it looks like tonight's show is going to be a good one. Let's start by introducing tonight's panel. On first base, we have John Kelley. How are you, John?
I'm good, Jaxie. As viewers might have saw from my hype video, I'm no stranger to winning, and I'm here to win.
All I do is win. Love to hear it. And rookie debut, Johnathan Blum. How are you?
Doing well, Jaxie. How are you doing?
You know, I'm making it through. It's
Nice.
been a good day so far, though. You know, got a little outdoors action, so that's fun. And returning champion on third base, Adam Ogburn. How are you?
I'm doing good. Excited not to have to do this after a Texas loss this time. Got to enjoy that bye week.
Yes, the bye week definitely helps. Before we get started, we're going to award some of the panelists extra points. First up, Adam, you're starting off with an extra point because of your background. Awesome. And John, you're getting a point because of your homemade hype video that was shared on social media earlier. I was dying laughing. That was pretty much the funniest thing I've seen maybe all year at this point. So thank you for that. Hope you guys saw that too. All right, let's get to it. Texas football came into their bye week directly following their 2 consecutive losses to TCU and Oklahoma. From the TCU game going until the final minutes and the Oklahoma game going into quadruple overtime and taking almost 5 hours, head coach Tom Herman himself said the bye week certainly came at a very, very opportune time. Their week off gave them the opportunity to relax and renew, but also work out some kinks throughout the entirety of the team. But where is this Texas team struggling the most? What is the biggest adjustment you want to see come out of this Longhorns bye week? John, start us off.
The biggest adjustment I want to see is on special teams. There were definitely less special teams errors in that game against Oklahoma than against TCU. However, there were still issues with the punting unit. Ryan Bajewski getting blocked punts, and it just didn't look great. And special teams, exists outside of the normal football game, but it's a very key part in my mind, and it's something that Texas needs to adjust going forward.
Sure, that's definitely a place that they have been not at their peak lately, but hopefully they will get that turned around. Johnathan, what do you think?
I think the biggest adjustment that Texas needs to make coming out of the bye is getting off to a better start early in the game. Against OU, we started off 0-10, and at halftime we were also down. So getting off to better starts in the beginning of the game at half is crucial. I think also getting the run game going early should be something that Texas should focus on, because the 3 running backs of Keontae Ingram, Roschon Johnson, and Bijan Robinson, they all combined for 29 yards on only 11 rushes, which is unacceptable. And also the Longhorns, when they're leading rushing against the other team, they're 22-2 under the Tom Herman era.
Yep, but like you said, it's been, these games have been decided by that final few minutes, and it's going to get harder if they continue to do that. So good point there. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with John. Special teams has been an absolute dumpster fire these first couple of weeks. But I want to see penalties cleaned up. The lack of discipline in this Texas team has been a killer in Big 12 play. They have 32 penalties already in just their first 3 Big 12 games. We saw enforcement iconic penalties against Oklahoma that were entirely preventable. And then we saw stuff like holding penalties in the quadruple overtime that got Texas behind the chains and in part led to that interception. They've had less practice, obviously, because of COVID, but this bye week comes at a great time for the Longhorns to regroup, to get some chemistry together, to get some discipline instilled, and look to prevent from shooting themselves in the foot moving forward.
Sure, and that, like you said, those penalties can definitely get into the players' heads and, clearly not help the team in any way. But Johnathan, you're going to get 3 on this one. Adam 2, John 1. All those are great points, but I do think that it is important for Texas to be able to get up ahead. and not have to wait till the last few minutes to figure it out, because you're deciding by, not the last quarter, but the last few minutes of the game. And that's not helpful. And, they got to hang in there with Oklahoma, but it's not, obviously it didn't come out in their favor, but you can't bank on that every time. So we will head straight into the next question. We are approaching the midway point of the season, and Baylor has only played 2 games in comparison to Texas's 4. The Longhorns will look to bounce back from their back-to-back losses, while the Bears will look to grab their first road win of the season. For both teams, there are some fresh and some familiar faces on the field. Baylor came into the season with 9 returning starters, including senior quarterback Charlie Brewer. Texas, on the other hand, came into the season with 16 returning starters, including senior quarterback Sam Ehlinger. Both teams lost star players like James Lynch and Denzel Mims for Baylor, and Brandon Jones and Devin Duvernay for Texas. So for this season, how big of a difference is there in lack of experience between Texas and Baylor? Johnathan?
I think it's a huge difference. I think Texas is much more battle-tested. With the first 2 games of Baylor season getting canceled, having a COVID outbreak, and starting under a new coach, Baylor's not had much time to get ready for this Texas game. In addition, Texas had 3 super close conference games, and they are much more battle-tested, and I don't think Baylor is going to be very prepared for this game. And besides their quarterbacks, I don't think there's much experience with the Baylor roster.
Sure. Yeah, Charlie is at the same, kind of level as Sam, but as far as team, they're probably not as experienced, maybe, is what you're saying?
Yeah, there's experience for the 2 quarterbacks, but outside of Charlie Brewer, I don't see that much experience with the team.
Gotcha. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd love to say Texas has an advantage because on paper they should. Baylor lost 9 starters defensively, so Texas definitely has room to exploit. But, we've seen Texas play down their level of the opposition. And then we've seen NFL examples like the Vikings beating the Texans, the Titans blowing out the Bills in weeks where they came off, where they were stopped due to COVID outbreak. So, I think Texas should have an advantage. Will they is another question because Charlie Brewer definitely has a chip on his shoulder that he didn't get recruited by UT. He was a Lake Travis kid. He was a local kid. He'll come ready to play. He's got 2 experienced running backs beside him in John Lovett and Tristan Ebner. So I think that inexperience on defense for Baylor will lead this game into more of a shootout type. So it's going to be interesting to see Brewer versus Ehlinger. So I anticipate this being another close Big 12 game for the Longhorns to have to navigate.
Yeah, rekindling that high school rivalry. Like you said, Lake Travis and Westlake. Charlie and Sam, they're both going to go hard at it this game for sure. They got nothing to lose. John, what do you think?
Experience in this game doesn't matter. If there was any game this season for Texas where experience would matter, it would have been the Red River Showdown 2 weeks ago, where you had an inexperienced quarterback and 2 younger teams, but one with an experienced quarterback going into one of the most challenging sports environments in all of sports. And Texas managed to lose in that situation. And I think coming up, experience won't matter. As Adam said, Texas will play down to the level of its opponent and honestly probably lose.
Ooh, coming out hot, John. All right. Well, I definitely see where you're coming from. Like you said, with the Oklahoma example, it's a great point. That they had a freshman coming in playing against a, senior that was his 4th game playing. So I see where you're coming from. However, Adam, you're going to get 3 on this one, John 2, and Johnathan 1. Adam, I think that what you said is very important to understand is that, it may look like it's a pushover from afar. However, this Baylor team, they could spring out. And like you said, Texas has a tendency to play down to their level sometimes. Luckily, we didn't see that this season with Oklahoma, we did see it with Oklahoma, but not with UTEP. So that helped, definitely. So Adam 3, Johnathan 1, and John 2. This Saturday, as long as COVID-19 stays out of the way, the Longhorns will take on the Baylor Bears in Austin. Baylor halted all football activities on October 8th due to a COVID-19 outbreak. A few days later, they announced their October 17th matchup against Oklahoma that it would be postponed until December the 12th. They returned to practice this past Sunday for the first time in 11 days to prep for the week's matchup against the Horns. Last Monday, Baylor Athletic Director Mack Rhodes said 28 players and 14 football staff members had tested positive for COVID-19. Big 12 minimums require 53 available players, including 7 offensive linemen, 4 interior defensive linemen, and 1 quarterback to play. Given all of this information, do you think it's healthy for Texas to play Baylor? Adam, start us off.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Baylor can meet that minimum. I'm assuming they would, or else I think we would have heard something by now. But, I think you could argue this whole season is a risk, but this does seem like a big risk for the Longhorns, considering Baylor had 42 positive cases, 28 among players, 14 among staff, just a week or two ago. I think the issue, though, is that the Big 12 is running out of bye weeks with Oklahoma State game against Baylor already being pushed back to December 12th. So I think the Big 12 is trying to fit this game in. Essentially the NCAA is just trying to get the season in, as best as it can by mitigating the risk with all this testing. I think it's a risk, but I think in a new COVID world, I think it's just kind of a reality that we've learned to deal with.
Sure. John, what do you think?
I think it should be fine. Baylor announced that they only had 15 active cases currently. And I think as long as they're able to institute a structure that allows them to keep from getting more cases, that Baylor's season should be fine for the rest of the season, and it shouldn't affect this Texas game.
Yeah, and that was 15 players from all the athletic departments, not just football.
Oh, okay.
That was just recent, yes. Johnathan, what do you think?
I agree with Adam here. I think that the Big 12 is trying to get in as many games as they can before something maybe worse happens or another situation like this pops up. I also read a tweet with David Aranda, the head coach, who said that all players, coaches, and staff who I guess are going to be active for this game have tested negative. The one worry is that Baylor does not have much time to prepare for the game, but based on how many players they can field, I think this game is healthy and it'll be fine for the Longhorns.
Sure. Like you said, and John, I mean, these cases, they're being very upfront with them. And I don't know if you guys know, but Baylor has really cracked down on these players. It's like, if you were around that person, then you have to quarantine too. So they're doing a really, really good job at, tackling and not trying to hide behind it. I mean, they're being very upfront about it. So John, you're going to get 3, Johnathan 2, and Adam 1. Obviously, it is going to be a risk. Everything's risky in the current world today. But I think that they are doing everything in their power to help mitigate the spread of the virus. So when we come back, the panel discusses Texas volleyball in the MLB World Series. You won't want to miss it.
Sports Show,
the premier sports talk show on the 40 acres. We're back.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. Before we get started, let's take a look at the scoreboard. Leading the show, we have in a tie, John and Adam with 7 points, and right behind them, Johnathan with 6 points. Let's jump right back in. Last Friday and Saturday, Texas volleyball headed to Manhattan, Kansas to take on the Kansas State Wildcats. Friday's match brought the Longhorns their first 5-set match of the season, where they eventually came out on top. On Saturday, the Longhorns came out to an early lead and ended up sweeping the Wildcats in 3 straight sets. Kansas State did not score more than 16 points in Saturday's match, allowing Texas to leave the Sunflower State victoriously. The Longhorns now move to an undefeated 8-0 on the season. What do you think was the key to getting out of Manhattan safely? John?
Well, definitely on that Friday matchup, I'd have to say Kansas State not having freshman Alia Carter in the game for most of that set. That game, she recorded 26 kills and set a freshman record for the school. And that allowed Texas to be able to come back and win that game, or win that match 5-3, or 5-2 rather, 3-2 volleyball. And it's just this Texas team is so dominant, and they got down 2 sets, and that little adjustment, that mistake by Kansas State allowed them to rebound and come back, and that propelled them through the game on Saturday, winning 3 sets against Kansas State. This is just a good Texas volleyball team, and when Kansas State made a mistake like that, that allowed them to regain their footing and steamroll through K-State.
Right, just pick up their slack, so just taking advantage of the opportunity if you can, and this Texas team has proven to be a solid team this year. Johnathan?
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, with the first 5th set of the season, the Longhorns faced this season was a lot. They played through a lot of adversity on the road in Manhattan. So they play as a number 1 team, showed in the country, sweeping their competition. Leading the blocks and kills categories were huge for them. Shout out to Logan Eggleston, who led the team in kills in both games, and it's a great win, great sweep, and I look forward to watching Longhorns in the future even more.
Sure. Logan Eggleston has been at the top of those charts all season and even in prior seasons as well. She's killing it, literally. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Johnathan hits the nail on the head. It's not only Logan Eggleston, but it's the whole team. It's the depth and experience they have that allows them to overpower opponents like Kansas State. And they didn't panic when they were down 2-1. That resiliency, that perseverance to fight through it. We saw Jenna Gabriel had a career-high 58 assists. We saw Skylar Fields pitch in with 18 kills. Asia O'Neal had 14 kills. So I think just the amount of talent Texas has and the amount of different players they have that they can rely on to step up and have a big play allows them to come out against inferior opposition and come out with those big gritty wins like they did on Friday night.
Right. I mean, they just know what they're doing. Like this season, they gel really well. And it has been like that. I mean, Texas has always been good at volleyball. But this season in particular, they have some really, really great people up front, especially with some blocks. And as well as those kills are unreal. When I played volleyball, it wasn't quite like that. But I'm going to go with John on this one. I do think that, taking advantage of that opportunity, it just proved that they can be resilient through, the adversity that they were facing, being down. They're not at home, which didn't really matter as much because it's COVID. But, they just really got it together and, came out on top and then went in the next day and just were like, we're done. We want to leave. So, John, you're getting the points on this one. All right. Well, it's very often that you see a college football team beat another team by 66 points, but even more shocking to see a football score in the 70s. Well, that was Clemson this past Saturday with their 73-7 victory over ACC opponent Georgia Tech. The Tigers are 5-0 overall this season and are led by top Heisman candidate and returning junior quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Combine Lawrence with Travis Eaton, now that is a dynamic duo. Clemson remains atop of the AP 25 poll and will look to maintain that prime real estate. Is there any other team in college football that can stop Clemson and Trevor Lawrence? Johnathan, start us off.
Yeah, these Clemson teams led by Trevor Lawrence are some of the greatest college football teams that in recent history, and they've looked really good. Their one real test so far against Miami, they handled them with ease. I think the day we need to look at is November 3rd when they go to Notre Dame, who's currently 3rd in the country. I look forward to seeing how that game goes. If they handle Notre Dame, I think the only team that can actually stop them is Alabama, led by Mac Jones and Najee Harris. in that SEC defense. But I really don't see any other team stopping Clemson besides Alabama.
All right. Johnathan thinks Alabama. Maybe. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Johnathan. No one is stopping them in the ACC. I mean, he talked about Notre Dame, but they only beat Louisville 12-7. They haven't looked too impressive. And then North Carolina, who was up there too, they ranked number 5. They come out and lose to a Florida State team that had lost to Georgia Tech earlier in the year. So Clemson, I think they get a free pass to the ACC. I do think you can never count out Nick Saban. Mac Jones, say what you want about him. But he's got Najee Harris, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith surrounding him, plenty of talent. And Ohio State, they took Clemson the very end last year. Late Justin Fields interception allowed Clemson to hang on 29-23. I'd look at Bama and Ohio State as the only 2 teams really right now that could challenge Clemson.
Okay, Bama again and Ohio State. Sorry. Wow. I'm thinking OSU now. Wow. All right, John, what do you think?
I agree with both of them. I think even if they happen to lose to an ACC team that wasn't really good, like someone other than Notre Dame, that still wouldn't put them out of the top 4. They're still just a great team. And we all know the AP poll is kind of biased towards Clemson and Alabama. So chances are they'd still stay in with a loss to an inferior team. But I'm liking to see Oklahoma State, number 6, bring it up, winning out the Big 12, winning the Big 12 championship, and possibly getting into that AP or that top 4 spot and taking on Clemson.
See, someone was going to say Oklahoma State. Adam, you're going to get the points on this one. Like both you and Johnathan said, Alabama, great contenders. But Ohio State's they could really come out and kill it too. John, I like your pick too, but I don't see them going all the way. So Adam, you're gonna get the points on this one. The MLB World Series is currently underway and pits the Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Game 1 took place last night at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. The Dodgers came out strong and grabbed a solid 8-3 win to kick off the series. The Rays will look to take home their first World Series title in franchise history, while the Dodgers are shooting for their 7th title. Both teams have talented players on their rosters, but who is going to be crowned the World Series MVP? Adam?
Yeah, I think the popular pick is Mookie Betts right now, but I'm actually going to go with Cody Bellinger. We saw him with the home run that won them NLCS Game 7, put them ahead 4-3 against the Braves. And then last night he got the party started with a 2-run home run of his own. So I think hitting middle of the lineup with a chance to have guys on base before and the power that he's shown, I think he could come out with a crucial home run that might put him over the edge and allow him to grab that MVP over his talented teammate Mookie Betts.
Sure. Bellinger is definitely a good option there. That's if the Dodgers win. John, what do you think?
Adam said his name. He's the popular vote for a reason. Mookie Betts. He's been making the plays. He's been making the catches. He's been stealing the bases. And most importantly, to everyone in America, he's been getting free tacos. That's why he's the MVP pick for me.
Yes, definitely another great option for the Dodgers. I love the taco take there. He's doing everything he can. Johnathan, what do you think?
I agree with John. I think those free tacos are crucial to winning the World Series MVP. But seriously, I think that Mookie Betts, as y'all said before, is the most popular, but he's the most popular and best pick for a reason. I think the Dodgers are going to win it all. Even though last time I checked, the Rays were beating them. Betts went off in Game 1, getting 2 steals in a row, went 2 for 4 and hit a home run. The whole postseason, he shows why he's one of the best players in the league with his amazing offense and defense. If Mookie Betts does not win MVP, I will be pretty shocked if anyone else does.
Yes, I mean, there's great contenders on both teams, but the Dodgers seem to have an edge with Bellinger and Mookie. So I know both of you guys mentioned Mookie, but I'm going to have to go with John because the taco point was fantastic in and of itself. But, I mean, this man is doing the most on defense and at bat. I mean, he is doing the full shebang. So he would be a great contender and maybe crowned World Series MVP, depending on if the Dodgers win. So when we come back, it's rapid fire here on College Crossfire. You won't want to miss it.
Men's basketball looks for a key win against Iowa State. Women's basketball is tested against the number 2 team in the nation.
The Longhorns had a dominant pitching performance in the latter half of the game, led by Pete Hansen.
I get to say some of the most exciting words in football. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. And picking for
Texas started the third with the lead and continued to gain momentum on defense.
Hello and welcome into the first social distancing college press box ever.
You're watching a live sports presentation of Texas Student Television.
It's a lovely evening in Austin. Texas Longhorns, Texas A&M Aggies. This is a rivalry game, high intensity, high scoring. Puck drop, we're off. Both of these teams are very fast. Big collision on the wall there. Now a little advantage for Texas. Shot in the middle.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. It's time for rapid fire. In this round, points are worth double, and that means it's anybody's game. Before we jump back in, let's take a look at the scoreboard. In first place, we have John with 9 points. Second place, Adam with 8 points. And third, Johnathan with 6 points. Let's get to it. Yesterday, Texas football announced they will be wearing white throwback uniforms in their matchup on Saturday against Baylor. These throwback uniforms will mark the first time that the Longhorns have worn all white at home since 1950, when they beat Purdue 34-26. White jerseys, white pants, and burnt orange numbers and trim are what make up these famously referenced icy white uniforms. This design was made as a part of Texas's retro throwback celebration at DKR. Aside from the icy whites, what jersey design should Texas go for next? Anyone can jump in.
Yeah, I think we've seen them do this in basketball. I think what everyone's going to be clamoring for next is the all-black jerseys with numbering. So it'll be interesting to see if Chris Del Conte would be interested in allowing, because I know Texas has always emphasized burnt orange and white. It'll be cool to see if they could go all black for one game.
It would look probably really cool, but may give off that like Oklahoma State vibe. I don't know.
First off, I just want to say that I hate the icy whites. The burnt orange home kit all the way. But for an alternate uniform, I'm thinking we take some inspiration from my main man, Bevo. We go for the, Longhorn cow print camo kind of thing, where it's like, I don't know, it looks like the what Bevo looks like it's colored, like the spots and stuff, like cows or steers.
Sure, cowhide. I mean, anything with Bevo's got to be great, right? Johnathan, what do you think?
I was gonna say something camo, more Army-like, but with maybe burnt orange and some Texas colors. Not sure how that would look, but I feel like with any uniforms, the Longhorns can pull it off.
Sure. I mean, camo's a good vibe. I think I'd like to. I mean, if we're doing icy whites, may as well get some cowhide in there. I mean, Bevo, he could really do it for this team. I mean, maybe that's what they need, John. Maybe you just did something. I don't know. We'll have to see, I guess. Next up, what is it that makes a sports venue so memorable? For some, it's the architecture, the fan experience, the history, or even a game that is happening right in front of your eyes. Some stadiums, however, take it to the next level with the unique attractions inside. The Houston Astros have the Minute Maid train that whistles each time the Astros score a run. The Tampa Bay Rays add some competition, having a live cow-nose Ray tank where fans can go to the outfield, touch tank, and hang with the live Rays. Considering the MLB neutral site for the World Series being the new brand new Globe Life Field in Arlington, what landmark should go inside Globe Life Field?
I think there are two options for this. Number one, it's the Texas Rangers. We got the Texas feel. Maybe like a bull riding attraction, to have some fun during the game. Secondly, we're in Dallas-Fort Worth. When the state fair is not on, we ship Big Tex down from Fair Park to Arlington and put him up like right outside, or cut a hole in the ceiling when it closes just over his head. I think it'd be a great addition.
Honestly, I mean, when Big Tex is off duty, may as well move him something where he's more prime real estate.
I'm not really sure. This may be the toughest question of the night, to be honest. Yeah, I really don't know what I would say. Pool, and I was actually thinking about something Western like bull riding, but John already mentioned that before. Maybe in center field, some bull riding.
Oh, center field bull riding. Gotcha.
Somewhere in the outfield, maybe. I'm not really sure how the stadium looks.
Now we can only see it from TV unless you drive to Dallas. So.
Right.
Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I know Fort Worth has a history of cattle drives, so I would go copy off the Astros and try and improve theirs. And instead of moving the train when you get a home run, I would like to see the cattle move across the track when you get a home run. So make it a little bit Texan, get some homage to the old cattle drives in Fort Worth.
I like it. I feel like that would be really intense, Adam. I think that that would bring, that Texas element, but also this sense of uniqueness that this team may benefit from. Like if the Rangers, were actually hitting home runs, maybe, but maybe that's in the future. Now they have other teams that can do it for them. I think the cattle would be great. So Adam, you're gonna get the points on this one. And finally, heading more international for baseball, the Chinese Professional Baseball League showcased some sneaky play that we have never seen before. A Uni President Lions player reached for the fences with what looked to be a home run. However, the Fubon Guardians center fielder jumped up and perfectly timed the catch, securing the ball and the out. The Lions hitter was rounding the bases in excitement, and it wasn't until he reached home plate and had his mini celebration that he realized indeed his home run would not be counted. All trickery aside, what is the best way to celebrate a home run? Anybody can jump in.
First off, I want to give a shout out to my homeboy, Daniel Shi from Taiwan, who I'm pretty sure suggested that question. But I'm going to have to go with the, I'd want to, once I round the bases, I just want to go up to the fans and give a little high five, celebrate with the fans. Because, you do it all for the fans.
All for the fans. John takes a leap to the fans. Who else?
Yeah, I think it's always fun to celebrate with the teammates. Get yourself a little bat flip to start off. I know baseball traditionalists won't like that, but get yourself a nice round the bases and a nice kind of dog pile or kind of big celebration with the teammates at home plate. You always play, they play 160 plus games a year with their teammates. So, these guys are basically like brothers. So it always feels good to celebrate with your brothers at home plate. Just don't do what Cody Bellinger did and, dislocate your shoulder trying to celebrate with them.
Yeah, that was a little harsh, maybe too harsh on him. But dog pile is always fun. I don't know how they could do that every run. Not when you're scoring 8 runs a game, I guess. It's a lot of dog piles. Johnathan, what do you think?
I'll say something similar to Adam. I think for every home run, more like a Little League style where everybody on the team comes out and celebrates with you, like a walk-off type of thing. It would just show teams to not give up home runs, and I think it'd really trigger the opposing team if everyone just comes out every time, takes up time to go from the dugout just to celebrate a home run, a regular home run.
I like it. I mean, getting everyone involved, that'll do the trick. Like that video showed, the whole team was like, oh my God, he caught it. And that was so upsetting to everyone else. So I think if you had everyone come out, it also shows that camaraderie, but also just that a bit of intimidation. So Johnathan, you're going to get the points on this one, but John, you are going to get the win. Congratulations. That being said, it's time for FaceTime. John, take it away.
This one's for Josh Martella, who suggested it last time I won. It's cat
oh my
time.
gosh.
Cat's getting the FaceTime. And that's it for me.
Coronavirus be gone, and John's cat has now made a presence. Love it. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's episode of College Crossfire. Before we go, I would like to remind you that early voting in Texas goes from now until October the 30th, and Election Day is November the 3rd. Don't forget to follow us on social media at TSTV Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Lastly, be sure to wake up with the What to Know Sports Show Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Tune in next Wednesday for our Halloween special of College Crossfire. From all the panelists in our virtual studio, in our virtual master control, I'm Jaxie Pidgeon. Have a wonderful night.